Mom's got a podcast.
Mom's got a podcast?
Mom's got a podcast.
Mom's got a podcast.
Mom's got a podcast.
Hey, welcome back to Mom's Got a Podcast. I'm Laurie Houde. What I have been up to is doing podcasts with my children. And this is my daughter, Jayda. And I'm so glad that she's here with me today. And she is my third oldest and my third daughter. And she's truly a gift of love from God to our family. And that's a whole nother story, how much joy Jayda has brought us, because she was our third girl. And God did a mighty, precious work in my heart, giving me 3 girls in a row. And then later we had 1 son. And I'm telling you, our life would not be the same without Jayda. So I'm so glad you're here.
Sweet.
Yeah. And I love when my kids get to introduce themselves, and I'm being really candid. Jayda said, "Mom, what are you going to ask me?" And I said, "Oh, I'm going to ask you some basic things. You'll be ready." So none of this is scripted. She loves the Lord with all of her heart. And I'm going to have you introduce yourself. Tell us your age, the season of life you're in. Just, I don't know, be like, "Hey, I'm Jayda," and just be you. Okay.
I love it. Well, hi everybody. I'm Jayda. I'm 23. I live here in Billings. I'm roommates with my sister Tessa, and we're currently living with our Zach and Danica too. So we got a party house right now. It's pretty fun. I am an office manager at a title company here in town, and have been about 2 years into my first adulty career, and so that's been exciting and kind of the season of life that I'm in. And yeah, I run our kids club on Wednesday nights at church, and I enjoy doing that, and I'm excited to be here today.
I love it. You're a pro, Jayda. I love it. So, one of the things that I love to ask my family is, what was it like being raised in a pastor's home? And I told all your siblings so far, you can be as candid as you want. I'm sure there's some of it that's not awesome. And then other parts, I believe it's what has shaped you, but each child is different. In fact, in one of the things, which I'm going to reference my Parenting on Purpose book, my first podcast that I did in season 1 was all from my book called Parenting on Purpose. The heartbeat of this podcast is to encourage moms, especially in their incredibly important job of parenting and mentoring their own children. And so this is going to be very focused on what was it like being raised in our home with us, telling you have to memorize God's word, and growing up going to church like every day of your life. So just share from your heart, Jayda, good, bad, ugly, whatever.
Yeah, I love it. Honestly, I loved growing up in our house. I didn't even know that there was really a stereotype with being a pastor's kid until I went to Bible college, and I told people I was a pastor's kid. They're like, "Oh, like which kind of pastor's kid are you?" And I thought there was just the one who loved it. And so I was shocked to find out that there were kids who had not the same experience as I did. But yeah, honestly, life was so fun growing up. I think also it helped that you guys were youth pastors and kids pastors. So you were doing like the fun side. I mean, the fun side of ministry with events, and there was teens around all the time, and life was just exciting. And I loved it, honestly. I mean, there was obviously things that were tricky. You always told us that we live in a glass house was a term that you used, and it has its blessings and also its struggles with that. But I think it really helped me be the person that I am, and strive to live above reproach. And you would always joke that we're your little priesthoods, or what did you say?
Because our last name is Hood, so you were our little priesthoods.
Yeah, she'd be like, "Live like it. You're a little priesthood. Like, come on." So yeah, it was good accountability, definitely. And yeah, overall, I would recommend. It was good.
I love it. You made a good point, and you didn't know this, that Micah also mentioned we weren't lead pastors. So us being youth and kids pastors meant for a really fun life for you guys. Now we're lead pastors now, and our life is rich and full of God and his blessings and people. But I would say in agreement with you that we were living the dream, weren't we? Our family getting to serve God. I mean, making dramas and traveling, not creating drama with people, but making, dramas and skits, and living with energy and teenagers around us all the time. And
it was so fun.
Yeah, you're right. I'm glad that
memories.
Yeah, I'm glad that you have that perspective, and, as far as being raised in our home. So Jayda, when did your walk with God become your own? And I wouldn't mind if you shared like backstory, because the moms or dads or anyone listening to this, I've told them about raising our kids with junior Bible quiz and us taking you to church every week and the level of, speaking God's word and reading your own Bible. So they heard how we put it in you, that we were planting a lot of seed.
Yeah.
But the seed that was planted, at one point you had to make it your own. And so anything from like
definitely.
that you loved or brought you to that place, you get what I'm asking.
Yeah, I know, I love it.
Sure, however long.
Yeah. Honestly, I think from a really young age, I asked Jesus into my heart when I was 5, I think. So pretty young. And I remember always having the desire to serve the Lord. I like when I would think of church and think of our church family, like that's where I came alive. And I remember I don't know if you remember this, but I wrote some sort of essay when I was like 8, basically having to describe like one of my favorite places. And I remember I described church and what it felt like to be in an environment like in the front row, worshiping with people who all love Jesus and loved me. And like, it makes me emotional, but like,
That's good.
I think from that point on, I just knew that like, oh, like I want this. Like what could be better than this, honestly. And so I don't know why that made me kind of
pretty sweet.
emotional. Do you remember when I wrote that?
Oh my word. She wrote an essay and it was like, what I love about New Life Church and what I love about going to church and why church is amazing. And you weren't like doing it for school or me or
I think
anything.
it was for school.
You did it for school?
Yeah, I think it was like a prompt for school, like a descriptive essay about your favorite place. And I said church.
Yes. Also, Jayda, one time when we were doing a question thing, like we sit around the table a lot and we do question cards, and we had another family over, and I was like, let's pull some cards from this little question box. And the question was, what do you love about your hometown?
Mm-hmm.
And Jayda, you were high school, I think, when you said this. And the essay was when you were a little girl. But when we were at the table, the question was, what do you love about your hometown? And Jayda's answer was, can I say my church family? That was what you answered.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's really special, Jayda.
Yeah.
We didn't have a perfect church family, but we love that our children were raised in an amazing church family. So if you're not going to church somewhere and plugging in and volunteering and putting your kids in whatever programs your church has, I highly recommend it. And I know that it shaped your desire, because ultimately, you just said you received salvation as a little girl. What do you think you were, 5?
Mm-hmm.
Probably here in your bedroom, right?
Yeah.
With me. Yeah. You said yes to Jesus. And that's an innocent, yes, I want Jesus.
Mm-hmm.
But you cultivated a desire to actually want to love and serve him all the days of your life because you were in an environment that you're like, why wouldn't I want this? And do you ever remember wishing you could be really rebellious, or you didn't have all the expectations and biblical standards? Be honest. Or were you like, I just actually liked being a good girl? Like, everybody's hardwired different. Not that you wouldn't be honest, but you get what I'm saying. Just share.
Yeah. Honestly, I think it probably goes down to my personality type, but I'm more of a rule follower by nature and more of a perfectionist. And so I honestly never really had the desire to go crazy away from the Lord. I don't know. Like, I never really longed for it, but I think one of the reasons that really helped with that is it wasn't in my circle of friends. It wasn't cool to not live for the Lord. Like, my close friends, we loved Jesus. We did Bible quiz. We went to church. We served. We were on the worship team. Like, it was the cool thing to love Jesus. And I never felt like I was lacking in fun or lacking in friendships. And so why would I need to go find something else when I found fulfillment in following Jesus with my friends?
I love it.
So yeah, I would say that.
I love it. So have you ever wondered if you don't have a testimony because you didn't have this wild rebellious streak?
Definitely.
So explain that, and how would you say you do have a testimony? What is your ongoing testimony, your journey of ups, downs, learning to trust God, the hardest parts of your story and him showing up for you? Because often we make our testimony about the day you asked Jesus in your heart, that's it. Yes, you got born again as a child. Yes, you got baptized. Yes, you stayed in church, but you still have a testimony.
Yeah.
And it doesn't have to do with rebellion. So can you just frame that with a beautiful little bow? I mean, how do you want?
I'll do my best. Yeah, well, I think this is probably the feeling of a lot of kids who grew up in church and didn't ever have a crazy streak where you ran away or like were disobeying the Lord. And so I thought for a long time that I didn't really have a testimony, or not that I didn't have one, but a testimony that would impact people.
Or it was boring.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
was like, maybe I should go like do something kind of rebellious just so I could have a more impactful testimony later on, you know, thinking in the long.
Crossed your mind.
Yeah, definitely. But I think the older I've gotten, and even going to Bible college and seeing a lot of other people who maybe grew up in church and had different results, or didn't grow up in church or with a Christian family and had these really hard testimonies, I realized that it's such a blessing for my testimony to be so much less about me and so much more about like God's faithfulness in our family's life. And yeah, it's cool. And so I don't know why I'm getting all emotional today.
It's good. You're saying it actually became clear to you that God was even more glorified
Mm-hmm.
in your life. And I'm not implying that he's not glorified in other people's lives, but you didn't have to run away from him, fall, and have this life of sin that
Yeah.
created results of heartache and disappointment and trauma.
Yeah.
That he was just as glorified, if not even more glorified,
Yeah.
by keeping you steadfast till the end.
Yeah.
Which would lead me to share with everyone what your favorite verse is and how that verse became your favorite verse and how it ties into your testimony.
Yeah, well, my favorite verse since I was little has been Psalms 51:10, create in me a pure heart and renew a steadfast spirit within me. And I think I liked that verse as a little kid, like the first part, the create in me a pure heart. Like that was my innocent goal as a young Christian and person. But as I've gotten older and like sometimes there's a mundaneness that comes to living life with Jesus just consistently without constantly doubting and walking away. Like there's just a peaceful consistency that isn't bad, but sometimes I was like, okay, like is this it? And the Lord has really challenged me over as I've gone into adulthood to just have a steadfast spirit and like never grow weary in doing good and never just keeping that same steadfast love for the Lord and gratefulness for the gift of salvation and the gift of our life. And yeah, so that's just kind of been my goal, to stay steadfast and not having to turn away. I mean, obviously I'm not perfect, but my goal is to continue to have a pure heart and continue to stay steadfast
I love it.
in my relationship with God.
I
So
love it. So when I asked you earlier if you had a favorite verse, you're like, oh, I kind of have two. I love this one. So why don't you share the other one and why it ministers to you as well? I would love for everyone to hear that.
yeah, I also probably more in the last 3-4 years have really loved the verse in 2 Corinthians 12:9. It says, my grace is sufficient for you and my power is made perfect in weakness. And growing up in a glass house of sorts, I always definitely felt a desire and also need to be quote unquote perfect or the good kid, or had you're a hard person to live up to, you and Dad both. Like you guys are
There
amazing.
were expectations
Yeah.
that we had and that you had and that
Yeah.
could put pressure on, even though we weren't trying to. But yeah, I'm
Yeah.
sure you felt pressure.
Yeah, and so I think definitely too, I have more of an introverted personality. I actually love people, and I wouldn't say I'm a full introvert. I enjoy being with people and talking to people, but maybe don't have the same charismatic personality that you have or Tessa has. And so I kind of put a weight on myself of, I need I would, I guess like a weight and desire to be that. And when I wasn't that, it felt like I was a failure of a hood, or a failure of a pastor's kid, or a failure of a Christian if I wasn't that crazy charismatic, always able to preach and do these things, and I wasn't perfect, and how would God use me? And as I was in Bible college, God really spoke to my heart that it's not about me being perfect. It's honestly in my weakness that God is the strongest and shines through me. And so, yeah, it's been cool to see God continue to grow me in things that I'm not as comfortable in. Even when I first started doing kids club on Wednesday nights, I remember being like, Lord, I am not capable to do this. I don't like talking in front of people. I'm not really a preacher. Like, how am I supposed to do this? And he was like, no, I've called you to it, and my grace is sufficient. Like, I will give you all the things you need to do it well. And so I'm definitely not perfect, but I've grown in the desire to trust in God to be my ability to do things for his glory. And so, yeah.
Sufficiency.
Yeah.
Yes, I mean, it's beautiful. Those two verses,
Yeah.
I can say I see the fruit of both of those verses in your life, Jayda. You have a
Thanks.
pure heart, and you have a steadfast spirit. You're not perfect, nor did we expect you to be perfect. We love personality tests around here, and I might talk about that a little bit. Jayda likes to aim for perfection. In fact, I am not a perfectionist at all. I'm like kind of sloppy girl all the way around, but Jayda has a level in her that God put in you to live with a very high expectation you put on yourself. But in the big picture, you do have a steadfast heart. You do have a pure heart before the Lord by his grace, and he is sufficient in you. And honestly, I think the verse that you used about may his grace be sufficient in your weakness. I think because we did push, I mean, I talked about in my first podcast, but for my heart as your mom, seeing that you don't like showing weakness. So when that verse is your other key verse, that he would be made, well, no, that his grace would be sufficient in your weakness. That is such a beautiful verse for someone who actually takes pride, not a bad pride, but takes pride in not being weak. And I actually raised kids to be winners. I mean, I wanted you to be strong. You're strong in the Lord and the power of his might. You are the head and not the tail.
Above and not beneath.
That's right. And so I raised you guys with this, but that didn't mean I expected perfection. But to acknowledge that you have weakness is probably one of the most beautiful parts of your testimony, Jayda.
Thanks.
I love it. I love everything you
still
do.
learning my weaknesses often and have to grow in grace with yourself too. And
we all have weakness. We all have. But that is the beauty, is he is glorified. And he's not just glorified only in weakness. He likes when we're strong. You know, so he loves when we're strong. Okay, Jayda, you're doing so amazing, which I love.
Thank you.
All right. So Jayda, one of the things that you've already said is your mom and dad are both in ministry, public ministry. Your older sister, Danica, you mentioned her, but her and her husband are at our church full time. They're on staff and they're in ministry, public ministry. Tessa is the children's pastor and has a lot of charisma and passion for ministry, very public with her life, social media. Like, she really wants to live bold. And you have a little brother who loves making music. He feels called probably to full-time ministry. He's passionate about changing the whole world. Like, he's me on steroids, and I love it. I know, because I'm your mom, that you are called, you are anointed. You're anointed even right here while you're doing this. You're anointed at work. You're called for kingdom work. You're called even for ministry, but maybe not the same level of outward public ministry. And I'm not saying you're limited to, that you can't be doing that, but your calling is a little different than all three of your siblings and your mom and dad. That might be something that has been hard or great, or something you've had to wrap your brain around. And in our hearts, raising our kids every day, when you left the house, we'd say things like, love God and love people, make a difference,
change the world,
no
pressure,
be a maker. And and I'm such a dreamer that in my mind, it was a gift to raise people who are also dreamers. But I don't think everybody feels like a dreamer all the time. And I do not think you dream as wildly as I do, or Tessa does, or any of the other ones. Can you share how you've walked through that? You maybe have even had to release or forgive us for any way we've said or done things. How could another parent understand a child like Jayda? Help my audience know your heart.
It's a good question. A lot to digest. Well, like you said, I definitely am naturally, well, I wouldn't say I've never been a dreamer, because as a kid I wanted to be the president. That was my life goal. And so somewhere along the line, I think I went from having crazy dreams and thoughts to maybe not so much. And I think some of it was maybe feeling incapable, or not wanting to not succeed, and the desire to be perfect, and realizing I couldn't, so just not trying. And then also along the way too, realizing that maybe not everybody is gonna go start a whole new ministry, or it has to, like, there has to be people who work the 9 to 5 and tell people about Jesus at their work. And so as I was in Bible college and trying to decide what I wanted to do with my life. And afterwards, I was like, Lord, I'm open to ministry, but I don't really know. Like, honestly, just really unsure of what I was supposed to do. And when I moved home, I didn't know what to do. I was working at the church kind of, but I didn't feel this like over desire that I need to be in full-time ministry. Like I feel called to people. I love people. I really love kids ministry, especially, but I just never felt like, oh, I don't think that full-time ministry is my thing. And then I would think, oh, is that wrong that I don't think that's my thing? Like, am I not as successful as a Christian or as successful as a hood? Or am I not fulfilling the call if I'm not full-time ministry? And a verbiage that I think too can sometimes be used in the church setting a lot is like, oh, they're so called, when we're talking about somebody who clearly has a call to ministry. And so lots of times I would hear that verbiage like, oh, they're just so called. They're so called. And I was like, like, since I'm not called to ministry, like, am I not called? And
That's hard.
yeah. And so I had to really work through like the internal battle of, okay, like, Lord, why would you not call me to that? I don't know why it's making me sad, but yeah, just wrestling through, like, okay, Lord, like, why would you have these big calls for my family and big calls for people I know? And then for me, I just have to go to work. Like, this is stupid. And so I started working at my job, and little did I know it would be such a God opportunity, honestly. It's been, I had to really shift my perspective on just work in general and the people that you are with. And I don't remember how far along into my job that I'm currently at it was, but one day I came home and I was just done, and I was like, oh my gosh, like, what is the point? I don't want to go scan papers. I don't want to go do this. Like, what is the point of this job? And I just so clearly felt the Lord be like, oh, like, it's the people. Like, look at all these people around you who need Jesus. And since then, it really shifted my perspective, and I started praying for my coworkers and looking at every day as an opportunity to bring people to Jesus. And my ministry is so much more about just the people around you. And I think that's everybody's life goal, whether you're in ministry or not, because you can only have so many pastors on staff. You can only have so many people being the missionaries if there's never people in the workplace who truly love Jesus and live it out. Like, how are people to know? And so,
It's a call.
yeah.
You are called. But the definition of call is usually used on the call equates ministry jobs. And you have a whole family. So that would have been hard to go, why am I not called? But you are called, but I get it. The wording would leave you with a lot of doubt.
Yeah. And so, I guess one thing for parents is careful with your verbiage, because it's little stuff like that that can plant seeds of doubt and like insecurity. If it's like, oh, well, he's just clearly so called, or she's so called, oh, she's great at worship, she's so called, and the person who's maybe not could feel like they're not called to do anything. And I don't think that's true. Like, I think God has chosen and called us each to do different things, and they're not of lesser value than the other.
Amen.
And so, yeah, it's been a cool season, honestly, and God's been faithful. I haven't, and then it's funny too, because since I am a perfectionist, I oftentimes go into seasons of like, okay, Lord, I'm called to minister to my coworkers. Like, sweet. So I started praying, and I had to have conversations, and then none of my friends or coworkers came to church with me. And I'm like, I invited you. Why didn't you come? Or like,
should have been so obvious.
Literally, or I would have little openings where I would share the gospel or share this, and they're like, oh, that's cool for you. Like, like, and so I would have all these moments where I was like waiting for my obedience to just immediately have the fruit of it. And so it's been good learning how like planting seeds is a calling too, and like maybe someone else will reap the harvest, but it doesn't mean the seeds that I'm planting are any less important than the harvest later. And so yeah, and then also I have such a great appreciation for people who volunteer a lot, because there's a lot of people, the church won't run without volunteers and people who are called to do ministry in a volunteer capacity. It's super important.
Right.
And so I volunteer twice a week, and I love it. And I'm perfectly fine not being on staff, but just serving and helping along Tessa and you guys and being involved in ministry. It's a blessing, and it might not be the typical calling to ministry, but I don't think that it's any less important. But
it is actually still calling to ministry. It is. It's just hard because some people get paid because they're called to ministry, and their need for being there more often allows a paycheck. And then other people are called to ministry by volunteering and they don't get a paycheck and they don't get a title. And I just feel like you're going to stand before God and hear, well done, good and faithful servant. And yeah, and I know it's been a journey, and I know that you're not upset with Dad and I, but I'm so sorry that you had to process all of that. You said
Okay.
something, oh, you're sweet. You said something one time that helped me understand how things that are said are also saying what's unsaid.
Mm-hmm.
And we know the devil's real.
Mm-hmm.
And we know that he hates us being successful and anointed and called and
Yeah.
purposeful and even just getting up and breathing. He hates us.
Mm-hmm.
So people would say, we've all said it, that, that if the enemy's attacking, then take it as a compliment. You must be doing something amazing for the kingdom. Or the enemy's attacking, well, then you must be really called. And you literally said to me one time, you go, Mom, every time people say that, I don't feel like I'm under attack. I have a great life. I have blessings from whether it's your obedience or where God's positioned you.
Yeah.
You are living a healthy, beautiful, blessed life without this trauma. And you're like, if the enemy doesn't attack me,
Mm-hmm.
then maybe I have nothing in my life that's good for God.
Yeah.
No one said that. That's what the other side of the human brain was
Yeah.
hearing.
Yeah.
And when you said that, it helped me reel it in a little bit. And I'm going to share a story about Jayda and I want you to add to it.
Okay.
Because Jayda is actually, she's one of my favorite humans, not because she's my daughter. I got to know her amazingly during this season that I'm about to share and process with Jayda. So all of our children, we gave them a celebration of age, like a coming of age, I should say. We gave all of our kids a coming of age birthday party at 13. They had other birthday parties, but the 13th was like, you bring in the mentors, you bring in your grandparents and friends. Yeah, and we have like words of blessings, and we pray over you, and we speak life over you, and we make the party huge. I mean, almost like a bar mitzvah or a wedding. Like, we make it big.
Yeah.
Food. I mean, you had pulled pork and mac and cheese and baked beans. You had like wedding food at your 13th birthday. And we invited everyone that we really valued. And I did that with the other girls too. But for each of their birthdays, I'm trying to figure out how to decorate to fit the child. And a mother of 4, I'm going to share one of my saddest times of my parenting and my biggest mistakes was Jayda was never in trouble. Well, you were one time, and I told that. I mean, you were a couple times, but and I told them about cutting the oops off. They all, if they go to my season 1 podcast,
perfectionist thing.
Yes, go to season 1 podcast and hear about Jayda getting so many oops on her little chart and how she just felt like she could never be good enough. And God gave me a whole analogy. So that's the one. Go back to season 1. But when it was time for her 13th birthday, because I had her younger brother who took a lot of my energy, and your older sisters, just so much going on all the time and doing church, you were easy. You were content. You were sweet. You followed the rules.
You're welcome.
I love that you said that. So I didn't have to work hard at knowing you, so I didn't know you. Because you didn't demand much attention. So I didn't not love you, but I couldn't even figure out how I'd want to decorate for your birthday to bless you. And I'm like, what is my daughter even like? I don't know my daughter. And I went through this. It was hard. And then God did give me ideas, and you played the violin back then, and we used music notes, and we bought, and I even have some back there. We bought old books and borrowed old books and decorated. She loves to read. Everything opposite of me. So that's what was hard, is I didn't know how to capture the things that were commonality between us. They were not there for that season. And so by the time we were done, I mean, your birthday party was the perfect colors for you, and it was gorgeous. She would write little things. So we had a typewriter out, and we had gorgeous things. The party was awesome. But in that season, I got a hold of a book, and I've mentioned the book in season 1 on my Mom's Got a Podcast. It's the Parenting on Purpose sessions, and it's a book called Growing Kids with Character, and it talks about learning their personalities.
Mm-hmm.
So this is a journey that Jayda and I went on that made my heart so happy, and my favorite part is when she figured out what I was doing.
Mm-hmm.
So what my perspective was, and Jayda can interject, was I'm reading this book and it shows, in essence, it's the disc testing for kids, and they turn them all into trees. And so I'm a palm tree, like I've got all this energy, and I'm also a rose bush.
I'm not.
She's not a palm tree, and she's not a rose bush. So in the book, a rose bush would be intense. I can be harsh. I can be prickly. I can be decisive. I can be abrupt, and I'm very, very like, my voice can get loud and feisty. And I mean, I'm all this all the time. And I'm also like all this all the time. So loud, and lights are on bright. And I mean, she'd come home from school and like, how was your day? Who did you sit by? And come to find out, it would have been better to just be like a lot more relaxed and lower lights once in a while. So I'm reading this book, and Jayda in the book was a boxwood, which represented just a tree that's perfect.
I thought it was a box pine. Or just
But I'm going to get to a pine
Okay.
tree. You were a boxwood and a pine tree.
Okay.
The same way I was a rose bush and a palm tree.
Mm-hmm.
So we called her a box pine because I figured
What a
out.
compliment.
What a compliment.
Little box pine.
So a boxwood would be what you'd draw if you're a kid, like the perfect tree that just looks like exactly what a cartoon tree.
Uh-huh.
Because they follow the rules. They fit the box.
Yeah.
You don't want to do anything that is not right and pleasing. And rules and justice and following what's right. And I'm like not a rule follower at all. So I'm sure I drove you crazy most of your childhood. And then the other one is a pine tree. And a pine tree is where introverted personality comes in, which your dad is as well. And your sister Danica. They all have some pine tree. So the pine tree boxwood, I'm doing this because a pine tree, they said they're in a group, a peaceful place. They don't need attention. They fit in with all the other pine trees. They're not loud and noisy and like quiet. You like winter, Jayda?
Yeah.
You like your bedroom to be peaceful. I mean, I'm crank the music kind of mom. So in this season, I know my story's going long. When I realized I didn't know my daughter, now I'm reading this book, and it said, if you have a pine tree child, go lay on their bed. So Jayda,
And I fell for it. The sucker that fell for it.
tell him what that means. You fell for it. Tell him what I started doing. You were what, a sophomore in high school at this point?
Yeah, and she would just come.
No, you're
Lay up.
13th. You were old. Maybe you're a freshman. I don't know.
I feel like it was in high school.
So it was high school. Okay, so I was already sad about the birthday, but now the book comes along. Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
Well, I would be in my room, probably like low lights, the lamp on at nighttime, doing my reading, like just peaceful. And she would just come and lay on my bed. And sometimes you wouldn't even say anything. You would just lay there.
And how much had I done that in the past?
Like, never.
0. I would tuck you in at night, but it would be like mom style. I would wrestle and tickle you and read a story and pray and then get out of there or jump on you. Like, I have all this.
That was a lot.
And she was like this. So I come in and I start doing this stuff the book told me to do.
Yeah. And then
I'm laying on her bed every day.
and I would just start yapping because I'm in my place. I'm peaceful. I'm happy.
I wasn't asking questions because a pine tree doesn't want you to ask questions.
And I would just tell, I don't remember.
Everything.
Yeah, I had a lot to say if you would take the slow, peaceful time to listen. And then you did. And so you heard a lot from me in that season. And it was really sweet. I remember feeling super close to you in that season. And then one day I overheard her talking about this book, and that's why she started doing it. And I was like, what? Like,
So tell them how
Yeah,
you
it was funny.
overheard. Why
don't
were you
remember.
even able to overhear everything?
Oh, well, so my bedroom was always upstairs, and I always left the door open a little bit so I could eavesdrop for every conversation.
Come to find out, she was listening to everything we ever said.
It was like peaceful. I'd fall asleep hearing all the tea. Well, not really. They were pretty.
We weren't gossiping.
No.
There's still things you don't tell your kids. And so Jayda, I guess, had it all going in. So
Yeah.
after that, she knew that when I was laying on her bed, I was just there so I could get to know her heart.
Mhm.
And honestly, your big sisters were already out of the house. We also did not let Jayda have her bedroom downstairs. She's the only one of our children that we never let have her bedroom in the basement. And I'm going to tell why. And in the big picture, I don't think it was a bad choice because she had introvert and perfectionism in her. We felt like if she went to the basement, she would be very self-internalizing,
Mhm.
wanting to make yourself and everything in your world better
Mhm.
and closing out people. Be comfortable just in your own space. And so we didn't want to lose her to a phone or to books even. We wanted to hear her and her to hear us. And we even asked you to keep your door open a lot just so that we could be close because she loved being in her bedroom. And that's not anything wrong. As a mom, it's great your kids have a safe haven. And so anyways, I was going in her room. And when she figured it out, she literally goes, "That's why you're on my bed all the time." And then I would go back in and she didn't kick me out. And
Yeah.
I gained a friend and I fell in love with the most, honestly, Jayda, you're thoughtful. You're an incredible listener and you're an encourager. And I didn't know what I was missing. And I actually, because your older sisters were gone and they shared a room, they always talked. I didn't have with either of them the amount of time and connectivity that I had with you. And
It was really sweet.
it was special. And I can't thank God enough for you letting me be near to your heart and hang with your friends. Your friends would hang, guy friends, girlfriends, all the friends. They were all kind to me. And you were a really wonderful teenage daughter to have here. So, yeah.
Thanks.
So I always recommend that book. And honestly, as your perspective, what would you say as far as that book changing our whole family dynamics?
Yeah. Yeah, I would say, I mean, it was very helpful for our relationship. And even when I found out that you had been doing that, it didn't like, at first I was like, oh man, like she tricked, like kind of feelings. And then I was like, oh no, like my mom loves me enough to figure out a way to get to know me. So thanks for being willing to change and get to know me in that sense. It meant a lot. And I'm sure it will mean a lot to your kids too when you take the time to get to know them in the way that works for them. And we really are all wired differently. And so I think it's cool. It really shows love when you do what's unnatural to you in a way that'll reach them. And so I think it really blessed me. Something I'll say though about it too is even going back to we were talking about being called earlier and how we can sometimes put like labels on accidentally. I think with any sort of personality test, it's easy to label completely something or really glorifying the strengths of another one in a sense that downplays other
Yes.
personality traits. And so sometimes playing into my insecurities, I think, oh, well, I'll just never be a palm tree and I don't have it in me, so I can never do that. But as Christians, we're all called to be people. And through the power of the Holy Spirit, I can be bold and be brave and be with people.
Confident,
even
even
if I'm not.
outgoing. Yes.
Yeah, and so I think it's a good way to like tell what your natural bend is, but then we should all be striving to grow and be better and walk out in the fruit of the Spirit. And the fruit of the Spirit is like loving people and walking out in who God's called you to be. And we're not called to just be in our room all the time, even if that's our most natural place. And so, yeah, I would say it's a great resource, but don't make your kids just stay in their like don't coddle them so much to their box you don't push them to be a little palm tree sometimes.
And don't celebrate palm trees because they're so good with people and imply that a boxwood isn't good with people. Is what you're saying is use it as a resource to learn how to connect to the heart of your own child, to develop them into the best version, but don't put them in, this is how you have to be. And you'll never be outgoing, or you'll never like doing things with a lot of people, or an outgoing kid, you'll never be peaceful in a room. No, develop their strength to be their superpower and refine their weaknesses so they can be strong even in areas that are not their natural area. Jayda, I love that. Thank you. Actually, I want to say this about my Jayda, and Danica is this way too, because they are less like me in their actual natural makeup.
Uh-huh.
their character, they have my character. They have the same love for people as I do because they love God. That's not a Laurie quality. That's a God quality.
quality.
It's a Christian quality.
Yeah.
So when I say Jayda and I aren't alike, we're actually a lot alike. Like, we're passionate for the exact same things.
Yeah.
We just carry our personalities and what we're good at, and our strengths and weaknesses different. And same with Danica. So, those things, not exact, but very similar. So when Danica was young, and I didn't do this book until Danica was out of the house and married.
Crazy.
And I did the book and I shared it with her. So her and her husband, on their very first year of marriage, read this book on being parents. And they weren't parents yet. They're still not parents. And they read it and they took the test and everything shifted in her. She cried. She had to forgive me because she does not have palm tree in her. And I am a palm tree first. Like in the disc testing, that's a high I personality. So because of that, I required all of my children, 1, because we're in ministry, 2, because we're Christians, and 3, because I come by it so naturally.
Mm-hmm.
I required that they have to be friendly to everyone. They have to put themselves out there. And Danica said, similar to what Jayda's saying, she's glad I didn't just let her stay in her room and read books all day, every day, and never have people over, or never, get out and talk to people. And even doing this, like, you're not afraid at all, because you know that you do have gifts and you do have something to offer, even though by nature you're a perfectionist and a introvert.
Mm-hmm.
That doesn't mean you're not easygoing and able to hang out with people, right?
Yeah.
And so, like, stripping those. Now back to Danica. She literally called me crying and she said, I had to forgive you, Mom. And she definitely related to being a rosebush in a boxwood. And I made her talk to people and always be outgoing. And at first she had to forgive me. And then later, she said, and you're like, Mom, you're probably going, Mom, talk about this in Danica's podcast.
No, it's good.
It's the point that you made, which is we're not in
Let
a
me have my moment.
Yeah, let me have your moment. But
It's already the middle child.
Blur, right? And I
Yeah.
do this a lot. My kids are used to me. It's kind of like, keep up. I talk in layers.
That's great.
So Danica's experience was thankful after she forgave me for being so palm tree.
Yeah.
Because she has rosebush, so she's direct. She handled it. But then she thanked me for teaching her that people are worth putting effort towards.
Yeah.
And she was forced to be a people person. And so I hear you, Jayda. I think my audience is hearing you.
Mm-hmm.
And this is going to be their favorite podcast because you are so good at communicating the other angle. And you know who makes podcasts the most in life? People like me, because we're palm trees. We're like, I've got something to say.
Mm-hmm.
And people like you, some are making podcasts, might not be, because you're not hardwired to just wake up and make a video with yourself in it.
What? Yeah.
But we need your voice. If you're called to make podcasts, do it. If you're called to write books, do it. It's not only palm trees. We need your voice. We need your angle. And this is probably going to be everybody's favorite.
Well, I don't know about that, but
They're going to love
you're
it.
sweet though. Thanks.
They're going to love hearing all of my children, because you're so different, each one of you. Well, that was an absolute blast. The interview with Jayda was so fun and so good that we are splitting it into 2. So come back next week for part 2 of my interview with Jayda Houde. Thanks for being here for this journey. God bless.
Mom's got a podcast.